What is this thing that members of parliament do that generates them the kind of profits that even insurance companies cannot generate? And it is becoming an insult to the people of this country. The majority who cannot afford, the majority hustlers, we are building for them 2 million houses, 3 million houses, and then we are proclaiming that we are billionaires. How will a billionaire understand the needs and aspirations of that person whose biggest wealth is a 2 million house?
Hello guys, my name is Ahmed Hali for the Unscripted Talks here in Dub Radio. Senator Moses Kajwang now has put Moses Wetangula on a hot seat since he is the chairman of the vetting committee that is vetting the CS nominees. Now, Senator Kajwang says the vetting process is merely a formality and nothing meaningful, as he has raised very pertinent questions that Kenyans are asking. And according to Kajwang, the CS vetting committee has let Kenyans down.
Madam Speaker, let me talk about the interview process. We have the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act. Madam Speaker, this is a statutory instrument, or this is law that relates to how Parliament shall conduct itself when it comes to constitutional and statutory appointments. And Madam Speaker, I do not agree with the committee on paragraph 13, page 16. Madam Speaker, I disagree with the committee when the committee makes reference to Standing Order 76 and 77. This interview should have been done in line with the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, the same instrument that the National Assembly has been using to vet the cabinet secretaries. And Madam Speaker, the reason why I say so is that the Public Appointments and Parliamentary Approval Act provides great detail on how this exercise should be conducted. Madam Speaker, that act says that Parliament shall focus on academic credentials, professional training, experience, personal integrity, and background of those who are being proposed to take up constitutional and statutory appointments. Being a member of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is a constitutional appointment. And so, Madam Speaker, how I wish the committee would have made reference to the Act of Parliament that is currently in existence rather than to Standing Order 76 and 77. That act, if it would be properly implemented, and not with the kind of mischief that we have seen in past vetting for cabinet secretaries. Madam Speaker, there's a question that has always come up, the question of net worth. And I can tell you that many a times when you are vetting nominees to the cabinet, Kenyans do not remember what they said they're going to do. Because there is one thing for them to aspire to do something, but there's also the established government policies. I have seen some cabinet secretaries say how they are going to be publicly spirited and how they are going to do things differently. But let's remember that there are already budgets that have been established. There's already a president who is in office. And so if you come with views that are at variance with those of government, the existing budgets, existing plans, and the personal views of the president, then you are just going to get frustrated. But the question of net worth is one that has animated the nation. I saw a computation of the net worth of the nominees that are currently before the House, without getting to the substance of the matter, to be 10 billion. And Kenyans are offended. Kenyans are offended. What is this magic that politicians play that makes them wealth that serious corporate organizations cannot make? Madam Speaker, before I got into politics, I was in the financial services sector. You will find an insurance company collects revenue of 4 billion Kenya shillings. And at the end of the day, it makes a profit of 50 million. A technical profit. That is once the premiums have been collected and the claims have been paid. And that is an institution that perhaps has employed 200 people, that has got branches throughout the country, that is integrated, that is creating a lot of opportunities and contributions to the GDP of this country, that is paying taxes. At the end of the day, they'll probably make 50 million as an underwriting profit. What is this thing that members of parliament do that generates them the kind of profits that even insurance companies cannot generate. And it is becoming an insult to the people of this country. The majority who cannot afford, the majority hustlers, we are building for them 2 million houses, 3 million houses, and then we are proclaiming that we are billionaires. How will a billionaire understand the needs and aspirations of that person whose biggest wealth is a 2 million house? Madam Speaker, if we were faithful to this process, even these applicants who are here, we should see an annexure showing how much they are paid in taxes. If I'm worth 300 million Kenya shillings, Madam Speaker, the taxes I pay must be different from the taxes paid by somebody else Kenya shillings, by someone else who just relies on a salary and has got nothing of value because their liabilities exceed their assets.
Well, away from that, Odoyo Owidi now claims that the Gen Zs actually have a leader. For a long time, the Gen Zs who have claimed to be leaderless, faceless, and tribeless, etc. Odoyo Owidi now says there are clear things that shows the Gen Zs are having somebody who is sponsoring them, somebody who is taking care of the demonstrations. Well, we are yet to know who's that person who is funding these demonstrations.
These rejections that we see, who is doing them? This thing has leaders. This thing has people behind them financing it and leading them. When Morara talks about tribal...
They've told you a number without time in terms that they don't have a leader. Why do you always...
Because I see. You can't... It is not what you tell me. It is what I observe. I observe that there are clear leadership, clear financing, clear organization. When we had that concert at Uhuru Park, who financed it? Who built those tents? Who did those posters if it is leaderless? And I have told you, go to X-Spaces in the evenings and see who leads those X-Spaces and see who speaks and see who hosts them. And I told you this thing is being done by what is called artificial intelligence. They even can evaluate how many people are going to come to this. And let me tell you, if we continue going like this, you know, you only need 100,000 people to overthrow a government. 100,000. In fact, the people who are in town on the 25th were not even reaching 100,000.
It is so interesting how Owidi argues that the Gen Z movement is AI driven. Now, do you remember this guy who has been mimicking President Ruto on top of Prado? Yeah, and also he's been into matatus doing civic education. Now, he has given a very, very comprehensive response to Owidi. Even at a point, he asked him, he's already at the K24 studios doing an interview, and nobody is funding him to do that. Let us listen in to how he responded to Odoyo's claims.
Let me confirm to him, all right, that personally nobody has funded me to be on this interview. It is true that the President William Ruto has enemies. And it is true that when there is agitation against the president, the enemies of the president will come into play. And the enemies of the president, they are not small, and they are billionaires and they are powerful. But that is not our issue. We are not going to stop agitating for good governance merely because the president has made enemies. If the president has made his enemies, that's between him and his enemies. What we are saying is we need good governance, and we don't mind whether the other president is a Kalenjin or whether it's an Indian. All we want is, first, we need to reduce the wastage of public funds. We need to reduce the size of government. We need to reduce money that is lost through corruption. It is as if the president has silently permitted corruption, all right? Because some of even the cabinet secretaries that are coming back or that have been brought into government, they have corruption cases. So meaning the president is actually very much aware of this corruption and he accepts it as a way of life.
Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Ahmed Khalif for the Unscripted Talks here in Dub Radio. Now, if you are watching from YouTube and you're interested in content of this nature, kindly subscribe and press the notification button. So anytime that we are live, you'll be the very first person to be notified, or any other time that we upload our content. If you're watching from Facebook, kindly like, comment and share, and don't forget to follow us. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu.
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, DAB Radio ndio mpango mzima.